And he's here. If you will stand, we can recognize. Here he is. He's coming out. I want to recognize him for his progressive leadership with the Martin Luther King Leadership Steering Committee. As you can tell and see in the communities, we've been visiting around, getting this campaign out. We have a commercial that we've done to inform citizens about this Yes campaign, and MLK is doing some new things. I would also like to recognize any elected officials who are here tonight, if you would stand where you are. Okay, we have our school board member, let's see, Tamara Shoemake, Irene Boone, and our city treasurer, Paige Cherry. Always. In addition to our panel, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. We also have other members of the Martin Luther King Leadership Steering Committee. If you're here tonight, would you stand where you are so that we can recognize you for your visionary leadership with MLK? Thank you all for coming. Okay, well, welcome to everyone for tonight's panel discussion on redistricting across our Virginia congressional districts. We have 11 congressional districts in Virginia. And we're going to hear about what this redistricting means to us right here in Virginia. We're honored to have a distinguished panel here of legislators. We have Delegate Cliff Hayes from the 91st District. We have Senator L. Louise Lucas from the 18th Senatorial District. And we have Mr. Jackson Miller, who is a former legislative director with Senator Lucas's campaign, with her office actually. But he's working hard in the field now for this Vote Yes campaign. So Jackson Miller. All right. So our conversation will explore the processes, challenges, and the impacts of redistricting, aiming to foster a deeper understanding of how these decisions affect us all. So now we'll understand that we do understand that this is going to be a temporary process. When the 2030 census rolls around, then it will change again. So what we're going to do right now will help us in this interim process to get our legislation done the way that we need to affect all of us here in Virginia. So let's engage in this thoughtful and respectful conversation as we dive into the dialogue. The Vote Yes. So our first question that we want to pose to our panel is, why are we voting yes? Just a quick statement on why we're voting yes to this legislation.
Well, I want to start by saying last summer, while we were at the National Conference of State Legislators, the members of the delegation got involved with a rally because, as you know, what happened to the people in Texas. So we went down to the rally, and I wish I had a copy of that video that I could show to you. And we said, well, if they're going to do that in Texas, and they're going to do that this place, that place, then Virginia ought to be next. And that's how we got started. So, actually, we've been on this 10-1 kind of mission since last August. But as you all know, Jackson Miller, one of my able members of my staff, we let him go so he could work with that campaign. So I'd like for Jackson to get all of the details from A to Z on how this is going to work. So Jackson.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam President. When Senator Lucas says jump, you say how high, so we're just gonna go right in. I am voting yes because we see an executive branch in our government that has thrown all semblance of the rules out the window. And I'm voting yes, particularly for my family in North Carolina. My mom has spent the majority of her life outside of Charlotte. Her dad moved when IBM moved their headquarters to Charlotte several decades ago. My family down there, they make this very real in terms of the impacts of MAGA-led gerrymandering. This is not just a thought exercise. This is not political theater. The impact is very real. And we see the impacts of that in this big, ugly bill that was passed several months back, right? that passed by what, a 3-vote margin in Congress. You can thank North Carolina for that one. Because while North Carolina voters made history in electing a Democratic statewide ticket that is dedicated to delivering an affordability agenda for all North Carolinians, MAGA Republicans in their state legislature gerrymandered enough Republican seats to give them that margin. And now, my healthcare premium skyrocketed from $60 to about $480 overnight. And I'm clearly not in this work for money, right? Let's just call it what it is. And this is not the healthiest line of work, right? And so for the next 5 weeks, I am taking a risk by pushing forward with this job, but I know too much is at stake. Right. Oh, thank you. But too much is at stake in terms of what this means, not just for access to healthcare, but especially for the 757 being a huge hub of veterans and military families, as our president is sending more and more resources and people into these foreign wars, as more and more of our jobs, whether it's in shipbuilding or whether it's serving our armed forces, are being cut, whether it's our public schools are being cut. We have to keep our eyes on the prize and take advantage of every avenue we can to hold this administration to account, right? And voting yes means leveling the playing field. If we let this moment pass by in our 250th year of democracy in this country, right? Florida will not be the last state to call their own special session to rig their maps behind closed doors, right? There are going to be more. Let's just call it what it is. And so this provides us a check on that power. It provides us a path to electing a majority in Congress that will not only advocate, but deliver for our interests and our priorities so that we all can be healthy, we all can build wealth, and we can have a more affordable day-to-day life for us and our families. I'm doing this because so many people around this country don't have the privilege of being able to fight because they don't have a majority in their General Assembly. And I want to thank, before I yield the floor, I want to thank everyone in this room for really getting to work last year. It's on your shoulders that we get to be in this fight. Not only did we set record margins and flip our statewide ticket to elect Attorney General Jay Jones, Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi, and Governor Abigail Spanberger to the highest offices of the Commonwealth, we elected a record-breaking majority in the House of Delegates, signaling a moral courage to step up to the plate and recognize that this is not okay. These are not normal times. We cannot play by a rule book that is being thrown out the window. You gotta fight fire with a little fire sometimes. And so what started in Texas, we're gonna finish right here in Virginia, and we're gonna send a decisive tone to the rest of the country. Make no mistake, the midterms started right here in the Commonwealth. The midterms this year started on Friday, March 6th, when early vote opened its doors right over there in the City Hall of the City of Portsmouth, right? Make no mistake, just like President Barack Obama has said in those commercials that I hope you all are seeing, the nation is counting on us. The nation is looking to us for leadership. And if there is one thing that the MLK Steering Committee knows how to do, it's walk the walk, right? So I want to thank you guys for your leadership.
Thank you.
Right? That's why I'm voting yes, so thank you for letting me ramble.
Appreciate that. So Delegate Cliff Hayes, you want to tell us why you're voting yes, and then take us into why it is important that voters, not politicians, have the final say on this campaign.
Yeah, actually, just to follow up with some of the things that Jackson had mentioned, as well as our President Pro Tem, Senator Lucas, I'm voting yes for a myriad of reasons. We know, just as Jackson mentioned, threat, not only the threat, what has happened on the federal level when it comes to health care and what that means to our citizens here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and across this nation. Make no mistake about it. Just know that this is a response that we are actually responding to some craziness that is going on. It doesn't behoove any of us to sit and just watch what's happening without standing up and fighting. That's what we're for. We're here to actually lead here in the Commonwealth, not moderate. And so we're going to lead and make sure that we're fighting back. Just as Jackson mentioned, that wink, that nudge from the president to North Carolina last cycle to give them 3 seats. There's an enormous amount of devastation that has come from that. One of the things I think we all should be watching and careful to watch is not only the health care coverage of everybody in this country, but more particularly here in the Commonwealth where we are, but also SNAP benefits as a result of what went on. And you don't have to go far, I don't have to go far to know the impacts that have been having on our communities. Normally this process is one that happens each decennial after the census is taken. And so originally it was scheduled for 2030. And the fact that halfway through, the president decided that he was going to try to put a fortress up around himself to try to protect himself in his midterms, which is not going to do any good. We're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. We've got to make sure that everybody here is telling others in your community the right way to vote. It should make no guess, just vote yes. Yeah. When you see the leadership that's telling us we need to vote yes, it should leave no question about what you're going to do, regardless of what trickery, what flyers get stuffed in your mailbox or commercials you see on the TV where they have all kinds of trickery with the commercials and on ads on the internet and everywhere else with synthetic media and pictures and videos pretending like those of us who are fighting on behalf of the people are saying no, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So I'm voting yes to make sure that we can return some normalcy back to what this democracy is supposed to look like. I think former councilman tonight, our moderator, Lisa Lucas Burke, has mentioned to us or asked a question, what is it about voting? Should it be the voters or who?
Why is it in the hands of, why is it important that the voters make this decision rather than politicians?
So the whole idea of this democracy that we have, that's the tenets of the democracy, that you would and we would, the people would participate and not try to suppress or confuse and trick the people, but to make sure that this democracy works the way that it's supposed to. And that's by having the participation of the people.
Thank you. All right, well, what are you seeing happening in other states that make this vote so important?
Well, I'd like to start by saying the reason why I'm voting yes is because I think this is a way for us to keep Donald Trump from stealing the midterm elections, to give him the majority that he needs in the Congress to continue to implement Project 2025. And we came out to tell you all that there was a playbook. There is a playbook. And we were sitting at this very same platform when we were telling you about it. And as you all have seen, they've already started those decision-making moves to make sure that Project 2025 gets implemented, as you saw with the removal of funding for SNAP programs for public education, higher education as well. What they've done is try to make sure they stack universities and colleges and universities with people who are MAGA thinking so that they can try to run the programs that are diametrically opposed to what we, not just us in Virginia, but all across this nation, see as a democracy. Donald Trump is doing this because he knew he could not win So all eyes are on Virginia, because when we did our redistricting, and hopefully everybody will understand, this is not we got this in the bag kind of a thing. We have got to get out and vote to save our democracy. Otherwise, some of the things that you've seen coming down from Washington, D.C., and I think somebody asked me coming into the church tonight, how is it Donald Trump gets to get away with all this? Because he had the MAGA Republicans in Congress who allows it. And if he's able to steal the midterm elections, it's going to get worse. And so all eyes are on Virginia, because we are in the process of trying to make sure that we level the playing field, if you will. And we got to try to make sure that our sister states do the same thing. We are working to save democracy for our children and our children's children. And if you care about your children, your grandchildren, and the future of this nation, it is imperative that you go out and vote yes to this redistricting, to this referendum. And why? Turn it back to the people, because what did the Constitution say? We, the people.
That's right.
This government is in your hands, and so it is up to you to make sure that we save democracy together.
Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit. I think some citizens have been receiving some mail that's in opposition to what we're presenting tonight, some racial literature, some Jim Crow literature, and even had a visitor to my office that said that, hey, well, here's one with Abigail Spanberger on it. So, and she's saying no to this. So what do we tell our neighbors and our citizens who are conflicted with some of this literature that is being circulated in these communities?
It's a trickery, it's a game that's being played on our folks. And the reason why we're putting shoe leather to the metal and to the boots on the ground is to make sure that people understand this is not something that people need to take lightly. When you see Abigail Spanberger saying vote no, you know that's a joke. You know, it doesn't. And if there's ever a question in your mind before you make a decision, ask somebody. I tell my grandkids all the time, what about asking grandmama, don't you understand? So if ever there's a question in your mind, ask somebody before you go and vote. Because your vote is going to be like your life depends on it. And actually, our future really does. The future of our children's education, healthcare, you name it, A to Z. Everything that in politics affects you from the cradle to the grave. And for people who say my vote doesn't count, I would like to give you a lesson in civics, because it affects everything you do. The air you breathe, the water you drink, the roads you drive on, the schools you attend, the insurance that you get, how much you pay or don't pay. It affects every aspect of your lives. So don't be duped by all of the negative campaigns that you're seeing that says vote no. Anytime you see no, call somebody and say, what does this mean? Because for me, it's a death nail. We're telling everybody, you must vote yes to this campaign. And as we've said before, it's not a permanent thing. It's only a temporary fix until we can get the crooks out of Washington, D.C.
Great. Okay, Delegate Hayes, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll just follow up again by emphasizing how vigilant we have to be in this day and time, in the rise or greater emphasis and influx of artificial intelligence. We have got to pay closer attention to the things that we see. And if you don't already have access to some of the applications that are artificial intelligence, I implore you, I beg you to please begin to teach yourself, learn, and become acclimated so that you can see and begin to learn and know and can pick up on what's real and what really is not. Because that stuff is really, really good now, where it can mimic your voice. It can literally have Senator Lucas run across here and do 12 backflips. and you will think that it's actually the person. And so when you start to look at it, and this synthetic media is what we call it, and deep fakes is something that in elections is very, very dangerous. It's not just fun and funny, but for our democracy and our elections, it's actually pretty dangerous, because what it's doing is not only misleading about the candidate, but it's duping the public. And the public, as I said before, in this democracy, that is the very foundation of the democracy, that the people would be able to make their decision based on the facts, not based off of someone using a deep fake, if you will. And you'll see, coming from the Virginia General Assembly very soon, legislation that will make it punitive for people to do this inside the window of 30 days of an election.
Great. Well, Jackson, you might be able to help us with this, but we want to know, why is this moment different from any other typical political issue? What makes this campaign so different?
Yeah, I mean, I think apart from everything that's said, and frankly, Delegate Hayes, I feel like I have seen Senator Lucas flip over backwards 12 times at once, but I mean, this is different because we've never faced, again, an executive branch of government right before our eyes actively rig the midterms, actively rig the game. Because it's not just rigging maps behind closed doors. If we let this moment pass by because we want to just conduct business as usual, we're not only going to see a majority being swept under our feet, even if we win the popular vote, even if the majority wins these midterms, right? We're not only going to see a MAGA majority in Congress, we're also going to see the Voting Rights Act completely gutted even further, wiping out 12.5 minority majority, black majority seats across the US South, being wiped away clean, right? The difference is the urgency, and the difference is the scale, and the difference is the blatantness of this. Just like Madam President Pro Tem said, right? This was all written in Project 2025, right? And if someone tells you who they are, you believe them the first time. So we have to be very clear. And we also, I just want to take a step back, we also have to trust ourselves, our work, and run our race. This is a very different Virginia than 10 years ago, right? Everyone here has put in countless hours of work, of blood, sweat, and tears to earn this current trifecta, right? This was not random. This was the result of a lot of thankless work. And so what the other side knows is that if they try to run their race, they're not going to win. They're not going to win on the merits. They're not going to win with voters. So what do? They let us, right, they rig it, and they make us doubt our work. They divide and conquer. They pit us against one another in order to suppress our votes, right? So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to vote no, people just are not going to turn out. And we have to be very clear and recognize that this is not just a part of their strategy, this is their strategy. This is the core of what they're trying to do. They cannot and will not win on a level playing field. So they will hit below the belt every single time. And we have to take a step back, trust ourselves, trust our work, and name it. Don't need to call it any fancy names, don't need to call it disinformation, misinformation, whatever. It's lies. They are lying. They will lie from here till April 21st, 22nd. We have to stay ready for that. So that's why this is different.
This is a good chance for us to segue into what we experienced over the last 4 years with Youngkin. We introduced some of the best legislation that improved the quality of life for the people that we represent in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Only they have a lot of that vetoed. But what we were able to do just this session of the General Assembly, just this one session, last year I introduced a bill that would increase the minimum wage, got vetoed. Guess what? This year passed. minimum wage up to $15 an hour. And if we don't have these Democratic majorities, we're not going to be able to do that. The Voting Rights Restoration Amendment that automatically restores voting rights for formerly incarcerated Virginians. Last year repealed. This year, we passed it. And of course, there's the redistricting amendment. And guess what? You all know how long it took me to work on the casino. Well, we've been working about 10 years on trying to get cannabis approved. Last year, Youngkins vetoed it. This year, it passed. These are the kind of things that we're telling you that we can do if we have the right people in office. And we can't do that if we allow people like Trump and his MAGA, I call them sycophants, to rig the midterm elections. That's why this is so important. And not only that, we have any number of constitutional amendments that right for reproductive freedom, housing, data center legislation, skill gains, all of that legislation that got vetoed last year, we got passed this year. That's why this is so important. We were able to make record investments in education. We backfill Medicaid to make sure that people can be able to see a doctor. These are the kind of things that impact people's lives. This is what we're working toward. If we don't succeed, all of the gains that we have managed to realize will be wiped away because their intent is to turn back the hands of time on our progress.
Delegate Hayes, talk about some of your legislation that is being impacted by this.
Yeah, so to follow up with President Pro Tem, we know exactly what would happen if we were not in control. As you know, before the last election, it was a 51-49 majority that we had, very slim majority in the House. And while that was the case in the status, many of the Republicans began to put in legislation to try to repeal many of the gains that we've actually had and had made. When it comes to Medicaid expansion and how so many people have access to quality, affordable health care now because of the good work that we've done, there are folks on the other side trying, still trying, but you won't fall for it. I think you sent a resounding message because last election we grew from 51-49 to 64 members of the House to their 36. And so there's a wide margin for us to, and you have spoken resoundingly and have given a mandate for what you believe Virginia's policies ought to look like. And so we're happy to make sure that the other side understands just that.
Okay. So what happens if our citizens who are undecided decide that, well, somebody else will do it and we're not going to vote and this fails? What would that look like for Virginia?
If we're not able to hold the line on this 10-1 map, and you all know I've been all over the social media since last August. I think they're calling me the queen of the 10-1 map. Because I think I was probably one of the first people in Virginia that was saying 10-1, but I think it kind of caught on, and thank God that it did, because if we could go from 6-5 to 10-1, only in this short term now, we're not talking about something that's going to be permanent. Just until we get past the midterm. Midterm, and then in 2030, we'll do something different. It's because we need to make sure that, for example, I'm able to give a $200 rebate back to our voters this year because we're in control of the budget. When you talk about affordability, people don't believe you're making life affordable for them unless you're doing something to help them. So in addition to all of the other things that we've done, we've got the rebates that are going back to our citizens. We put money in for affordable housing. We even put money in that will help people for first-time home ownership. You're not able to get these kind of things if you have mega Republicans in office. So we could go down a long list of things that we've done that we would not ordinarily be able to do without the majority that we have in the General Assembly. And again, these will be rolled back. A lot of these the progressive, shall I say, pieces of legislation will be rolled back if we don't make sure we protect these midterm elections.
Thank you. Deputy Hayes, you want to
I would just say that we have to have partners on the federal, state, and local level, at every single level, doing the good work of the people, working in step and lockstep, and making sure that the people come first. And so I'm excited about the fact that here in Portsmouth, being a part of the Portsmouth delegation with Senator Lucas, President Pro Tem of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, Don Scott, and myself, to be in leadership roles in the General Assembly. I recall when I was a student at Norfolk State in my senior year, just visiting the General Assembly and watching some of the work that was done by even then the Black Caucus. And seeing Senator Lucas even during that time standing out there even during that time. But I do recall, and some of you may have heard me say this story before, asking then Governor-elect L. Douglas Wilder, what is the most important part of your role? Having been a senator and now governor-elect, what is the most important role, would you say, and impact that you have? And he said, Hayes, it's one thing to be there and advocate and to ask for a piece of the pie, but it's even better when your hand is on the knife, when the pie is being cut. And so when it comes to the budget of the Commonwealth of Virginia, you don't get any stronger, more influential than the fact that you have the President Pro Tem and the Chair of Senate Finance with the knife in her hand as she's slicing the budget. I'm blessed to be on appropriations in the House and chair capital outlay and general government. But y'all, the truth is, even after we leave with the budget, there's a smaller group, the conferees, five on the House side, 5 on the Senate side, that are going to get together and start talking about the last few instances or details, fine-tuning the details of the rest of the budget. And that's what our conferees do. They got their hands on the knife. I don't care what legislation you have. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to do anything if there's some money involved that needs to go along with it, unless you come by and talk to President Pro Tem and Chair of Senate Finance in the Senate, and then House Chair Appropriations, Luke Torrey. Listen, y'all, this is historic times. And sometimes we get numb because we see our leaders doing things and it looks so easy. It looks easy because they are very good at it. It's not easy work at all. But understand, when will we ever, or when have we ever, had the President Pro Tem and the Chair of Senate Finance in one person, right? And at the same time have the Speaker of the House, right from the same city, the same locality. When has it happened?
And the IT guru.
Yes.
All of this AI stuff and the fact that we need to make sure that we're engaged and we're connected. This globe is what it's all about. Our kids aren't competing against folks from another state. It's actually folks from around the world. And so we need connectivity everywhere. Everywhere. And even here in the city of Portsmouth, you'll see we have a cyber bus, actually, that's in the budget. And we're going to see if we can hold on to that and make sure that not only are we making sure our kids are ready and that they can go to places to learn about these careers, but the information and the training can come to our neighborhoods with this cyber bus to make sure that our students and our kids are whetting their appetites with what's going to actually run our country.
There are so many things that the average citizen doesn't know about what we do in the legislature. For example, this year we formed several caucuses. We have a caucus for the first time that we call the HBCU caucus to make sure we look out for historically black colleges and universities. First time, historic. Never have we ever had a caucus like that. And we endeavor to try to make sure that HBCUs get their fair share of the pie. So when we start slicing that pie, we want to make sure that our universities, who previous years have not gotten the same share of the education pie, but with the delegation that we have now, we're in a better position to make sure.
It is not by accident that you can get excited when you step on Norfolk State's campus.
Right.
When you step on Virginia State's campus, and even with the creativity, you can step on Hampton's campus.
That's right.
You can step on Virginia Union's campus. We're getting resources to those HBCUs as well. But that's not by accident or happenstance. So we need you to spread the word that when you're on the campus and you see these nice facilities and things are happening on the campus, it's because of the great work that folks have their hand on the knife when the pie is being cut.
I was so excited because this session of the General Assembly, we saw college and university presidents at the General Assembly every single week. They were there because they know we care about them. And so every time there was a program that they could participate in, they were at the General Assembly because they know we're looking out for their needs. And that was just so exciting to see. All of them, presidents of all of the colleges and universities were there.
Amazing. Well, we have early voting has already started. March 6th, some people have already voted. There's still some others who are undecided and on the fence. We will have voting through April 21st, even with 2 voting dates on April 11th and April 18th, 2 Saturday votes. So people have no excuse to not go out and vote. So we want to encourage you to take someone with you if you haven't gone already, or if you have already gone, drive a neighbor. And Jackson is going to talk about that and what it looks like across the other part of the state. What is the voting looking like?
Yeah, look, people are excited. So for anyone who's saying that this is unique and this is low turnout, I don't know what planet they're living on. People are locking in. And the other side is locking in too, right? This will always be a tight race. But I want to focus, and thank you for letting me interject, Madam Moderator, on the importance of early voting. How it's so easy to do in Portsmouth because it is right across the building section of the City Hall. Yeah. Remember in 2023, right? I had the privilege of flinging myself down to Portsmouth for the first time to help this young lady next to me win, at the time, the most expensive state Senate primary in Virginia history. I will let you in on a little tidbit from what we took from that race. Our margin of victory, Senator Eloise Lucas's margin of victory in that very tight primary, can be fully explained by early vote. By early vote specifically in Portsmouth, right? Chesapeake is huge, right? Chesapeake covers a lot of ground, and so our voters have to drive a long way to get there. Portsmouth is right on Crawford Street. And so we, day by day, our lean team scraped through lists to push people to early vote. So while Election Day was tight, we built a lead before Election Day even began. And that sent, now Madam President Pro Tem, to the chair of Senate Finance and Appropriations. That is what is at stake when early voting has started. That is the margins that we can grab now. We don't need to wait until April 21st. We don't need to wait for life to happen and then we're taking care of family elsewhere. We can make our voices heard now. And just as a reminder, right, because I create all these lists, is when you vote, you are taken out of all our text messages, all our phone calls, all our robocalls. You get to just chill for a bit. Or not chill, because we still gotta get the vote out. But we're not gonna bother you, right? So let us work both smarter and harder by reaching the people who need that extra touch. And let's build our margins, let's earn our win well before April 21st. We can do it because we've done it before. Because again, that is exactly how we won that primary in 2023 to make sure Senator Eloise Lucas stays in the Senate. So thank you. Madam Chair, were you about to say something?
No, I was just saying thank you for the hard work that you all did to make sure that happened. And let's use that analogy to explain exactly the reason why this special election is so important. If you all had not gotten out there to vote for me, I wouldn't be President Pro Tem and I wouldn't be Chair of Senate Finance and Appropriations. If you don't get out there and vote now, Donald Trump will steal the midterm election. That's how serious it is. It's just that serious. You cannot allow him to steal this midterm election. And I'm glad you used that analogy because that gets people to understand just how important this is.
Delegate Hayes, you want to add to that conversation?
Only to say that you've heard it before, that elections have consequences.
Yeah.
Elections have consequences. And we need to make sure that any and everybody, everybody understands that. When you participate and you put a shoulder to the wheel, we can row in the same direction and get the results that we want. And when we don't participate, guess what? You are participating. You're throwing away your influence and your effectiveness to the other side. And so it's important for us to just continue to not only participate. When I look around this room, we're looking at folks who are always engaged. How is it that we can grow not only this group in this audience, but also make sure that our young people, as they're getting a voting age, that they understand how important voting actually is as well.
And I'd like to add one other thing too but there are so many things that we get to do as legislators that the average public doesn't know about. For example, the parole board. When Youngkins came into office, he fired everybody on the parole board. All of them. And so, rarely, if ever, anybody got parole during that period of time. But we were able to take back the trifecta, and now we're in charge of the parole board. And I am so happy and pleased to be able to announce that one of the people who will be going on the parole board was one of the people who helped make sure that I got elected in 2023. Bishop Kevin White will be a member of that parole board. As well. Stand up.
The gorgeous one.
Congratulations.
We'll be going on the parole board in full-time capacity, so we'll be able to look out for people who deserve a right to return to this community.
I think it's pretty historic to have three of the five appointees from Hampton Roads.
From Hampton Roads. 3 of the 5 people on the parole board are from Hampton Roads.
That's amazing. Well, MLK has been doing a lot of work to get this message out, and Jackson, I don't know if you see other groups across the state that are doing similar things, but we need to be an army of 110 plus to get the message out. MLK will also have already visited Fourth Baptist and Grove Baptist churches to get the message out. We'll be visiting Mount Hermon Temple on March 22nd, Third Baptist on March 29th, Ebenezer Baptist Church on April 12th, and Celestial Baptist Church on April 13th. And we've had an amazing team who have been getting the message to those members of those different churches. And if those members of the team who have been getting that message out are here, if you would stand, I know Paige Cherry, Michael Moore, Councilman Vernon Tillage, applaud you for your work in getting that message out. But we need other groups to be vigilant with this process as well. And what are some things that we can do besides handing someone this paper? There are yard signs that are out. What else can we do to get this message out in this 35 days that are left to April 21st?
Yeah, a couple things. One, updated yard signs are en route. I yelled at a few people about the ones that we have, but yeah, we got to maintain that visibility. And I do want to thank the MLK for that roster of community engagement and faith engagement. I said this at the Portsmouth Den meeting, but because this is a ballot initiative, right? We're not going to see a D or an R next to anyone's name. We're not just going to see someone's first and last name on the ballot. It's a yes or a no. And if folks are taking care of business at City Hall and they turn around and decide to vote, but if they're looking at their ballot and they don't really understand what's in front of them, the default is going to be no, right?
Yeah.
Not anyone's fault. It's just they don't have all the information at hand. And if they don't understand what this referendum is, the default will just be, you know what, I'm going to check no, keep it moving. So we have to actively push people to yes, right? I think the most effective thing we can do is not just get out into certain spaces, but to honestly just go through our own contacts and just make sure we are tripling, quadrupling, quintupling this vote. Because the numbers don't lie, right? We can play the President Obama ads all day long, but the most effective way to get people to yes is when they hear about this from someone they know and they trust in their community, right? To decode what is up with these mailers, to decode what is up with these text messages. So really, we have to rely on each other. It can't just be MLK. It can't just be the Democrats. It can't just be Senator Lucas. It can't just be Delegate Hayes. We all have to work in lockstep to make sure we are getting into communities that really might have just heard about this online, maybe saw a YouTube ad, but have no idea that voting is 20% done in early vote already, right? A lot of people, when we are on doors, tens of thousands of conversations had already across the Commonwealth. The most common response I get was, oh, I support this, but I didn't realize this was a now thing. I thought this was a midterm thing. I thought this was a November thing. I thought this was a next year thing. Right now, right? So we just cannot take any of this for granted. So if there's a couple things we can do is one, keep the message and keep going into spaces we know and literally go through our contacts. And secondly, get out in person. Right? Because when you are face-to-face with someone, you can break that momentum that Delegate Hayes outlined in terms of all the algorithms and the mess and the deep fakes that people might be seeing. You can break that in real time with a face-to-face chat, right? The doors that we're knocking, 9 out of 10 people say yes, right? Half of them are voting on election day, half of them are voting early. Right? But they are making a plan in real time. And when people voice their plan in their own words, on their own terms, they are exponentially likely to follow through because they're making the plan for themselves, right? So that is the most effective thing we can do, is talk to folks we know, make sure everyone has a vote plan. And if you are voting by mail, we need to get those back into your registrar ASAP. Because there's all these delays and all these changes with the postmarking policy with USPS. We cannot take anything for granted. We cannot procrastinate on this. We are not in college where we're pulling all-nighters the night before an assignment is due. We gotta turn in that ballot back in right now, right? To bank our vote and to bank this lead. So again, talking to folks we know, knocking a door, and then also just making sure that we are returning our mail ballots that are out there. There are tens of thousands of yes votes that are just sitting on coffee tables right now. There are tens of thousands of yes votes that might honestly be hanging near the trash can. We cannot let that happen, right? We need to bank these votes now, and we need to make sure that for the next 35 days, we are working 200% to make sure that everyone knows exactly what is at stake and the power they have in their vote to hold this administration to account.
I just want to, if I may,
Yes, delegates.
please, whatever we do, remember, yes. That's it.
That's it.
We're saying a whole lot of stuff up here. The answer is yes. Period. The answer is yes. Because what's going to happen, I guarantee you, is that when you go to the polls, you're going to see some folks that look like you, and they're not for the yes side. And as the saying goes, all skin folk
Come on. Ain't kinfolk.
ain't kinfolk. So you have to be able to decipher and discern and know the message that you're hearing from your leaders. And so no matter who it is standing up there saying vote no, you already know which way that you're going to vote. And we need that same message to go across to all of our neighbors, our family members, our friends, our church members. We need everybody to know and to run the same play. And the play is yes, period. No matter who it is that's standing there telling you to vote no. No matter what you see in your mailbox that comes in the mailbox, vote yes.
All right, we've had a robust dialogue here, and there were some greeters at the door that were handing out this literature. I want everybody to take at least 2, maybe 3, and give one to somebody before tomorrow, before Friday. I was in the grocery store, and someone was talking about the vote yes, and they had received some of the Jim Crow literature, and so I talked to 3 different ladies before I made it to the checkout line, and all my literature was gone. So people are curious, they want to know. Some are confused, especially our seniors, because that's who they target, that's who they believe they can persuade to be misled by the negative ads and campaigns that are out there. So see the greeters on the way out. Make sure you take 2 or 3 of these and share it with someone. We want everyone to be an informed voter, and we want them to be empowered to vote yes. It is okay to vote yes. So panelists, is there anything else that we may need to share with our audience today before we close out?
All I can say was a long session, and many of us got back Sunday night, some Monday morning. But we're here now with boots on the ground. And if there's any organization or group that wants us to come in to talk to them about the importance of this yes campaign, we are now available.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank our panelists. Delegate Hayes, did you have something else you want to close out?
I was just going to say, standing still while others change the rules is not neutrality, it's a disadvantage. Doing nothing is choosing to fall behind. So we're happy to see that you have decided not to just sit back and do nothing.
That's awesome. And let's congratulate our panelists for being here tonight. Applaud yourselves for coming out of your house and being informed with the information. We said we wouldn't keep you long. We were to an hour. And so this closes out our Yes Campaign Town Hall meeting. Thank you for coming.